in business, so I will try and keep it on time so that we can all finish for break, but I will be available afterwards for questions if we don't get to go to all the questions because of this late start. So today I'm talking to you about building your platform, but not in the general sense, in the sense before you have your book ready, what you can be doing to prepare. So who am I? I am a strategic consultant with 18 years in the life science industry. I have a PhD in biostatistics. I'm all about strategy, about how you get things done. So some of the things you'll see here are probably things you've heard before. But if you already know them, then you probably don't need to be here. If you're here, it's probably because it hasn't clicked with you yet, or you're not sure how you do it. You know what to do, but not how. I hope there are no magic bullets in this world, but hopefully that might give you a cheat code to get to the next level and get started. As always, your mileage may vary. 20Books provides information, but doesn't tell you there's only one true way, and I'm absolutely the same. But this is set up as a roadmap, which you can choose to follow or not, or take a detour whenever that suits you. It's only one option. So who are you? This is designed for the first-time author working on your debut, whether that's fiction or non-fiction, or the established author who's looking to pivot to a new pen name and start fresh in a new genre, who again has to build that audience from scratch. There's actually a lot of commonalities between those two places, except the experienced author has already probably made a whole ton of mistakes and knows not to make them next time. So what I'm trying to do here is to give you some of that ideas and things to think about, so that even as first-time authors, you don't have to make mistakes. And why you're doing this is because you're looking to find your readers, because that's what we all need if we want to have a career as being authors. It should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. The most important thing you can do when writing your first book is finish it. Doesn't matter how good your platform is if you have no product to sell, and it is a product. So what I'm talking about here cannot become your focus to the point that you stop creating the product. You do not need to have 100,000 fans ready to read a book you will never write. So what I'm trying to do is small things that won't take too much time, more to the point, won't take too much of your creative energy away from writing, but can slowly and incrementally build up the audience that you need. So let's start with direct contact, and you may have spotted in my intro that I say I'm a newsletter enthusiast. So no surprises, I'm going to recommend having a newsletter. The main reason why is it is the only platform that you own. We've been seeing in the news recently the Twitter meltdown. Most authors aren't huge on Twitter. What if that was Facebook? What if all of your reader groups disappeared, your author page no longer existed, you get locked out of your account one day? How do you reach your readers and tell them, I've now moved to Discord? With your newsletter, and there are two terms here. There's mailing list is a list of people. The newsletter is what you send to them. But if people sign up to your newsletter, they're on your mailing list, so the terms get used fairly interchangeably. Just I wanted to make sure the terminology is clear, so I'm not confusing anyone with those. You may change newsletter platforms. You might be with MailChimp, decide their prices are too high and you can't afford to be with them anymore. Or not. But you own the list. You download that as a CSV file and you bring it over to SendFox, MailerLite, Email Octopus. Wherever you move, that list is yours. So while you may not own the platform that you're using, the important part, the way to contact your readers, is in your control. That's why newsletters are powerful. But how do we get these mythical newsletter subscribers? Well, that's a whole other talk, and I'll give you some suggestions of who to listen to later. But I find that there are three things that are important to make this happen. The first is having a reader magnet. The second is an automated welcome sequence, and the third is then what is your regular content. I'm going to talk about each of those in a little bit more detail now. Your reader magnet, quite simply, is the bribe you give people to join your newsletter. Now, there are lots of different ways you can do it. There's various things that are suggested to get people onto your newsletter. You'll hear romance people talk a lot about the bonus epilogue. I'm here to tell you that that does not work if you don't have the book written. What you need is a standalone piece, something that leads into your series, not something that requires them to have already read your series. But if you can go one better and make it something that leads into your series and is something that someone who has just read your book one would also like to read. So, in the absence of anything else, if you have the first 3 chapters of your work in progress polished up nicely enough that you can hook them in, use that as your reader magnet. But if you can write a standalone piece with a beginning, middle, and end, now, it doesn't have to be long. 6,000 words. Okay, so that might be long to some people, but it's like a 10th of a novel. It's like the look inside feature on Amazon. That's enough if you can tell a complete story. Finish it, land it, make people feel that they've had the full story experience, and that means that they know that they'll get that same full story experience when they read your book. So 2 good options to lead into your work is the prequel or origin story. So you think someone like, Jack Reacher or a vigilante, like what turned them into that loner and seeking justice? What was the pivotal case that, broke their naive childhood dreams? Urban fantasy. When did your main character first discover the supernatural? Now, maybe your main character discovers the supernatural in your first book. Oh, okay, but then we can't do that as the origin story. What about another character? What about the vampire detective your lead character pairs up with? What about his backstory? How did he get involved in doing crime? It's not directly the character you'll be writing about, but it's it's a secondary character that's important and can give a full story and connect people into the universe. Romance offer standalone stories. They're not continuous arcs, so you can't do an earlier part of the story because it would be incomplete. Side characters. If they all go to a bar and the bartender is the one who gives them the advice to, get your head out of your ass, son, and go and get the girl, what's that bartender's backstory? How did he find out about love and happy ever afters? Because if he's a character that readers are going to love, giving him a complete happy story, and then introducing him to and the bar and the characters and the setting is a way of hooking people into the world you're creating. I mentioned book funnel here for 2 reasons. The first is that if you've written a piece, it's the way to deliver it to your readers. You upload your file to the book funnel platform, and they'll give you a link. You can put that link in your email, and someone clicks on it, and it brings them to the download page to get a copy of your book. And they can download directly to their Kindle, to their Android device, to their Apple phone, whatever device they use. They can also for non-Amazon things, but I live in an Amazon world, so please understand that this also applies wide. The other thing that book funnel can do, though, is promotions, where, this bribe we've got, how do we get in front of people to bribe them? Book funnel organizes promotions where you give your bribe, and other people give you their bribe, and you all share it with your readers. That way, it gets in front of all of the people who are going to like books like yours, and then you get those on. My first book funnel promotion, I got 200 readers from it. And I wrote fairytale fantasy, which is kind of a tiny niche. But because of that, if you target it tightly, you'll get the readers who will stick with you because they're not being served enough of what they love. And the second was about the same. Suddenly I have a decent list. Now I can go into bigger promotions and I'm not the new kid anymore. So I highly recommend that in terms of growing your list. But you need to have the reader magnet ready first in order to take advantage of that. So then once someone has said, oh, I like the look of that, I'll sign up to that newsletter, what happens then? The best thing that can happen then is the welcome sequence. That is a series of emails that they will receive to welcome them to your newsletter, to your mailing list, to your world. Automate it. You do not need to be trying to track when somebody signs up to your list to send them an email and setting a phone reminder for 3 days later to send them another email. In all of the mailing list platforms, MailerLite, MailChimp, SendBox, etc., there are ways to do automations. Some of them are paid, like behind the paywall only, others are free to use. But when you set this up, this is the sequence that I recommend as a template. Obviously, tweak it if you want, but if you need to know, just give me a formula to follow. This one works. The first email, kind of about 2 minutes after they join your list, is, here's the link to the book. Thank you for joining the list. Really hope you enjoy the story. Maybe give them a little bit about the blurb again, just in case, remind them why they want to read this email. Bear in mind, even though they've just signed up, it could go to their promotions folder and they mightn't see it till a day or two later. Remind them which story they signed up for. Give them a bit about your blurb. Show them the cover again. And give them the link. 3 days later. So just checking in. Have you read it yet? What did you think? I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to email back. You want to get that engagement. A week to 10 days later, so it's either, a week to 10 days from when you send your first email, so either a week after your first email or a week after your second email, and send them a follow-up email. So hey, you've read the intro story now. This is part of a bigger series. Here's what the series is about. Here's how this story connects in. Here's the characters you're going to love. Here's why you really want to know more about my series. Stick around. What you want to do is get someone who's like, yeah, that seemed fine. But yeah, I do want to know more. Your welcome sequence is a way of warming up someone who doesn't really know you to get more excited about your work. Because you want them to stick around until you're ready to give them a buy link. Later on, when you're ready and you've got your pre-order up, put your pre-order in this third email. So, hey, did you know this is first of the series? Here's the pre-order link for book 1, which is coming out in November. Or whatever it might be. You know. And then when it's available, they'll just buy it, and then it's like, oh, update it again later when you've got a whole series. By that point, you'll have the content. You'll know what you want to say to them. You could put in another email here, maybe your inspiration for writing the series. Again, what you're trying to do is signal to people, I do this sort of stuff. Do you like this stuff? Oh, you like this? Yeah, you're probably not for me. You're not going to like this. Like, see yourself out. Because I want the people who are going to love my work. Because they're the people who are going to lift me up. Because the book's going to take another 6 months to write. I need positive people around me who are going to be excited for it. So, try and engage. What is it about your book that makes it stand out from other books in the same genre? What are the things that inspired you to write this book? And that's what they're looking for. That's going to create such a powerful connection and an excitement for what's to come next. But once they finish their welcome email, they drop onto your regular newsletter. So each month, and I'm going to suggest monthly. I started off doing every 2 weeks, and boy, did I regret it. It is a hard schedule to keep up, especially when number one priority is finish your book. So we don't want to be spending too much time on newsletter. Just keeping enough contact to stay relevant, keep them reminded of you, but not to spam their inbox when you have no update for them of, here's a book. I kind of divide my newsletter into 4 sections. That way I don't have to think too much about what I'm putting in this week's newsletter. The first 2 in the early days could become the 1 section. Personal news and writing update, because a lot of what you're sharing personally will be about, telling people you've reached the 50% mark, or like, I'm at 67,000 words. Most readers don't really understand that. But like, I've gotten to a really exciting part of my story, and I'm really enthused about it. I've just introduced the antagonist, the big attack, it's going to be great. Or the story really wasn't flowing for me this week. I was getting into a bad space, so I took Lulu the dog out for a walk and it just cleared my head, and it's so good. Here's a photo of Lulu. Everyone loves pet photos. They'll send you theirs in return. This is another point of connection. One of the things about the personal side is everyone kind of, I don't want to share personal stuff. I've got a pen name. I can't tell people about me. Lucy Score, one of the #1 romance authors on Amazon, she loves tacos. Her group is full of memes about tacos. Her readers write to her, telling her about taco places they've seen in their cities. It's personal. It's I love tacos too, we've got a connection. It's not her address. It's not photographs of her kids. But it's real. Yeah, you can't fake it. You have to find what part of you are you willing to share. Do you love anime? Does that reflect? Now, it has to kind of reflect to your story. If you love Japanese horror movies, but you're writing a sweet rom-com, it might not be the right thing to share with your audience. You might kind of mix messages there, unless your sweet rom-com has a horror bent, in which case, I don't know what you're writing. But find a way to connect. I mean, if you write sweet rom-com and it's Hallmark season, you can either gush about how much you love those Hallmark movies, or rant about why you hate this trope in Hallmark movies and how you're not going to do it. And you'll get love them or hate them, but you'll get responses and you'll get people engaged. The personal book recommendations. People are iffy about this. Oh, you don't be like recommending other people's books in your newsletter. You don't want to be a book club. I have a different take on it. I want to train my readers to be buyers. I put in books that I know are very tightly aligned with my genre, with the style I write, and say, hey, this is one. I've read it, I loved it, I think you might like it too. Now, under personal recommendations, only do things that you are actually happy to put your name to. Because if they have a bad reading experience, they're going to blame you. Now, if it's like, it's not for everyone, but you might like it, put the disclaimer on and say, it's a bit iffy, but I like it because, your mileage may vary. Give them the edge, and then have a conversation about it. But where this leads them is, they trust you. They know that if you're recommending these books and they love those books, and you're saying, well, I love these books and I'm writing a book, chances are they're going to love your book. It builds reader trust. It also creates buying habits. Oh, I see a book, I don't wait for discounts, I'm willing to buy full price. You can see with your tracking links who's buying. Like, okay, we're actually getting clicks, this is good. It also builds goodwill with other authors. You're sharing their new release. You're getting the word out to them. Guess who will be willing to reciprocate when you've got your new release ready? So you've got 6 months, 12 months to build up goodwill in the author community of the people you are most wanting to target to help you in return. That sounds quite mercenary about it, but there is that sense that if we help each other, the help comes back. And so it works in multiple ways. The final section is on the group promo. So this goes back to the book funnel thing I was talking about, where lots of different authors get together. I separate that out because you mightn't know these people. You might never have read their book. You can't vet everything that goes in your newsletter. In order to be part of a swap so that you can reach other readers, you have to reciprocate. But if you gatekeep to the point of, if I can't personally recommend it, you can't be here, it's going to be very slow growth. But if you basically put a disclaimer, these are my personal recommendations, here are some other books. It's not that you're saying, I don't recommend them, but you're not putting your personal endorsement on them. Now, if you happen to see one of your Insta-buy authors is in that sort of thing, and check out, Kate's got her new release, or her reader magnet in there. If you haven't picked it up, it's a great story. Great, you can do one of the maybe 10 people in that promo. Some of those promos have 50 or 100 books. You certainly can't read all of them, and you're not expected to. But that kind of protects you and your reputation by distancing or disassociating yourself as being a personal recommendation for those things. The next step is around building a community. While the newsletter is direct contact, it's one-on-one, it's you to the reader. But when you want to talk to everybody, you want them to talk to each other so you can go away and write, you need a community space. Facebook reader groups can be really vibrant, engaged places, but it takes time to build that. One thing that can help is get a good name for the group, not just the reader group. But you not only name the group, but if you name the members of the group, if these are the Royal Rebels, or you're writing dystopian, so greetings members of the Resistance, welcome to the Alliance. You know, it creates a sort of sense of, oh yeah, we're all part of this. Create that community. But when you start this Facebook group, it's a ghost town. It is population 1 you. And you're going to have to create some content to make other people want to join, but there's going to be nobody there to see the content. And that makes it feel, oh, it's no point, it's no nothing anyway. Well, if there's like even 2 or 3 people in it, and they see you're not doing anything, they're not going to tell their friends to come along and watch you not do anything. But if you have a plan, you can create content, no stress, no thinking input, but still create sort of a, I suppose, the grease in the wheels get started until there's enough people in the group that they can talk to themselves and create their own content. Engage the readers. Quizzes. Do you prefer this or that? What are you looking for? Do your welcome posts, you know, using the member name of like, welcome to the Resistance, and here are the names of our new recruits, and thank you cadets for your service. You know, make it relevant, make it regular, be visible. So here are a few content ideas, and I didn't do automations because I thought it was going to be in PDF, so you're going to get it all in one big block. Well, it's easier for taking photographs. Standardized posts. Theme it by days. Monday memes. Tuesday takeover. Another author comes into your group and does some chats about their books. Work in progress Wednesday. Give them a teaser, a couple of lines from your book. If you're going back and cycling words and you laughed at something, give them that. No context, just give them a little teaser of your work. This or that Thursday. Bikers or billionaires. Starfleet or Star Academy. What are you know, things that are relevant to your genre, that kind of engage. But again, the more controversial, the better. Love it or hate it, you want them to have a strong opinion and want to engage. The more they engage, the more Facebook sees that this is an active community, the more it tells other people, hey, do you want to join this community? Feeling Good Friday. Hey guys, tell me what good things have happened to you this week. Let's have a happy roundup. Spotlight Saturday. Hey, I'm going to feature a favorite author of mine. This is kind of like your personal recommendation section from your newsletter. In fact, you can just recycle your newsletter content from the previous week. And, you know, here's an author, these are some of their books, this is why I really like them, I think you'd like them too. And then probably tag them, their readers find out. When you go to your Tuesday takeover a few weeks later, get them to come. One of the things about the takeover is that, like, they'll bring their readers too when they come into your group. Suddenly your group grows. Genre-specific content. So all of those standardized things can be done and applied to any genre. But for your genre, what about a book club? As a fairy tale author, we did the rereadings of the original fairy tales, and then each week we'd talk about, so how does that original fairy tale differ from the thing you thought you knew as a child? And what? When did that happen? It created great discussion, but I did it with a co-host, and the two of us would discuss it, and then people would watch us live chat about it and put in their comments as well. So it was a group activity, but it created, again, communication and engagement. Watch parties. Are there series happening in your genre code? So the Jack Reacher series if you're doing thrillers, The Witcher for fantasy or Sandman, Bridgerton if you're historical romance and the new episode is out. Who's watched it? Oh my god, did that just happen? You can have a spoilers post. If it's relevant to your genre, if these are your people, they'll be excited about it too. And engage them, make them be part of that where you are, get them to come to you. Go lives can be really powerful as well because it gets you in front of your readers. And that brings your personality out, so it's not just a faceless author. That's one of the biggest changes of the social media in the author era, is the access that readers have to authors. And if you nurture that well, you can do it in a safe and secure way, but also it can be a very powerful tool for creating fans. You can either do those live chats. It's really difficult to stand and just monologue at an audience, though I'm doing that right now. If you can have a co-host, someone you can have a chat with that just happens to be filmed, that can help. Or invite guests onto your weekly live chat. So sometimes you'll have to talk by yourself, but other times you have someone to talk to and it just happens to be witnessed by an audience, and that might make it easier for you. Here's a tip. Can you team up with somebody? One of the ways I did, all that content I just talked about, I put that plan together for the fairy tale group. But I met an author at a 20Books event 3 years ago who is in my genre, really closely aligned. And I said, do you have a reader group? She goes, no. Do you want one? I'll run it. You bring the readers, I'll do the work to create the community. Now this was a year before I had published. But I leveraged the fact that she had readers and she brought in 2 other authors as well in our genre. So there were 4 of us to start off, 3 of whom had readers to bring in, and me there, making it all happen, creating the community. By the time a year went by, and I say, and now I've got my book too, I had a whole community saying, we've been waiting for this for a year and we're delighted, let's read it. So what can you trade to get readers? If you're going to be putting in the time to do all this anyway, could someone else benefit too and trade you visibility and an instant boost of engagement for the right to be part of the founding members of your team? So it is possible to build reader communities in other places than Facebook. Discord is getting very popular, particularly in the lit RPG community. TikTok is blowing up. But you kind of need to be part of those communities. Don't go in there with the, I'm in charge, like everyone's going to do it my way. You have to know how the platform works and work out where are your readers hanging out. And if you're one of your readers, as in you read what you write and what you love, then it should be easy enough to know where those people are because it's where you are. And go where they are, and that's where you should be. So look at the successful indies in your genre. Where are they basing their platforms? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Discord? Are they on Facebook? Are they somewhere else now? Final section of things you can do while you're preparing your first book. Get paid to write that first book. Patreon, I have mixed feelings about this, but I think it's important to have the discussion anyway. It's a platform where people pay a monthly subscription to you for rewards that you promise up front. You can put different tiers of levels of rewards, and then you deliver those each month, you get the payments each month in return. The benefits are quite obvious. You get some income while you're writing that book. You can nurture your super fans, because those are the people who are paying to support you to getting your first book written. And if they're reading your work as you write it, you're getting beta reader feedback for free from people who read your genre and love it and know what they're talking about. This isn't some, person you're paying who normally reads sports romance and you're asking them to do your sci-fi thriller. They know what they're talking about. But here's the main pitfall. A lot of people start this and then end up spending more time growing their Patreon, focusing on getting one more subscriber, than on writing the book. We still need that product. So here's what I would say is the strategy for using Patreon if you are still working on that first book and that first launch. Don't create exclusive content for Patreon. You're giving them early access to what you are doing anyway. Now, this only works if you have a stable writing process and if you write linearly. You need to know stability in that you need to know that you will be able to write X number of chapters every week so that you can promise if you sign up for a month, you will get 4 chapters a month early access. Now, some months you're like, I'm just not feeling it, I'm only going to write 1 chapter this month. Well, they've paid you for 4, you need to hit 4. So you need to know that you're going to be able to hit what you've promised. You need to write linearly because I don't. I write an outline and then I jump from this scene to that scene over here, finish the ending, come back to the middle part, and then stitch it all together at the end. That works for me, it works for my process. It does not work for someone reading as I write to see what happens. Like, I'm very confused. When did that happen? It's like, so if you are a non-linear writer, this won't work for you. But if you are a linear writer, kind of a chapter at a time, and you can fairly regularly predict when these are going to happen, get people to pay you. You're doing the work anyway. Get them to pay you for it. Just checking the time. Quick thing about payments. An ebook for $4.99 on Amazon will get you about $3.43 in royalties. A $3 tier on Patreon gets you $3. If you give them the ebook, you're not really losing anything. You're not losing a sale because they've already paid you for it. Now, if it takes you 6 months to write that ebook, and they're paying you $3 every month, they've paid you $18 for your $3.43 royalties. Give them the free ebook. You know, they've paid for it, and they've supported you getting there. Sell your character naming rights. Everyone's got a side character like Bob again, Bob number 4. Would you like to be a character in my book? $10 tier. Pay me $10 a month, and you can name your character. And you know, the bartender, the waitress, give those side characters names. Let your Patreon subscribers pay for those names. And then, you know, if you have a high enough tier, actually send them a signed paperback. If they paid enough to cover the cost of printing and shipping, do it. But again, it's about finding what works for you. So that kind of brings us to the recap. Newsletter for direct content. Facebook reader groups to create a community around it. And if it works for you, Patreon to get paid during drafting. Now, I would like to add one more thing around the Patreon question. If there is an alternative to Patreon coming for fiction authors specifically, it's launching in January, and it's called Ream, and it is founded by 2 20-bookers who are here. So REAM. So if you're not sure about Patreon, this might be another thing where the author community is strong. And remember, the best way to build your platform is to release the book. So get it finished. I would just like to finish with some further information from other sessions that I think might be beneficial if you're interested in this stuff. Tammy Lebrecht does amazing stuff about newsletters. She did a basic session earlier today, so you can catch it on the recap. Emilia Rose, who is one of the co-founders of Ream, did a session on Patreon strategies. Damon is right now talking about book funnel and how to use it for your reader magnet, so you're going to have to catch that one on the replay. And Tammy's got 2 more sessions coming up later this week. I've got 4 books there, 2 of Tammy's, Newsletter Ninja, and then Newsletter Ninja 2, which focuses on the reader magnet, and then my 2 books, one on MailerLite, which is one of the the mailing list platforms, and Book Funnel, which is coming soon. So guys, I think we're just about at time. Thank you so much for your attention.